what I would call the game of the weekend, the NFC North rivalry, Bears at Packers. Packers 6.5-point favorites. 44.5 points is the over-under. And I was talking with Kyle Long earlier this week, obviously, of Bears fame. And I was saying, I don't think I've been this excited for a Bears-Packers matchup, or that there's been one that had this much on the line since week 17 of 2013, 12 years ago. Now, 2 years ago, the Packers needed to beat the Bears week 18 to make the playoffs, but the Bears were out of it. That one didn't have the intrigue. The only intrigue was for the Bears was, what do we do with Justin Fields after this game? Can you play well enough? Because that was the year, remember, he had that stretch at the end where fans were like, hey, he's the guy. And a lot of people were upset when they traded him. I don't think they're upset now, but that was not a great game. Objectively, that wasn't a good Bears team. But that 2013 year was for a playoff spot. That was the Aaron Rodgers collarbone year. And then the last time these teams were both good teams was probably the NFC Championship in 2010. So it's been a while. Glad to have the rivalry back. How do we see this one playing out?
This game is going to be so cool. It's going to be such a fun game to see Ben Johnson go up against Jeff Hafley once again and kind of get a feel for how the Packers defense is going to defend this Bears offense that, like we've said all season, they are an explosive unit, but they're also incredibly volatile. That means if they're capable of putting up 30, 40 points, they're also capable of only putting up 10. That's sort of the volatility of their offense, the explosive passing. But I really think that this game is going to come down to how the Packers defend the run. And I think it's so fascinating how they defend the run, because despite not having big guys, we've said this all season, they lack depth, they lack size on the interior. They win by slanting, they win by shooting gaps, they win by trying to cross linemen's face. But the Bears run zone, outside zone so well where they can kind of negate crossing the face by just reaching. They get reaches on every block. Joe Thuney has been incredible. Drew Dahlman has been awesome on those reach blocks. So I wonder if this is a game where Jeff Hafley blitzes the run on early downs. Do you see Edgerrin Cooper sort of filling hard? Do you see Isaiah McDuffie blitzing on early downs? Because I think the best way to defend those zone runs is to put someone in the zone where nobody's expecting it, where nobody on the offensive line is expecting it. That's how you're able to kind of throw little wrenches into the plan. Maybe use some run stunts. I think that'd be really important for this team. But their lack of size is going to mean guys like Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson, Colby Wooden are going to have to play monster games against one of the best rushing units in the NFL.
Yeah, to put some numbers to how good this Bears running game has been, over the last 8 games, 179 rushing yards per game. That is 28 more than any other team in the NFL over that span, and second in EPA per rush behind only the Colts over that span. So it's been volume, it's been efficiency, and it's been the under center run game. They are the second highest yards per carry in the under center running game in the NFL so far this season. That's the matchup, truly, is how do the Packers have answers? Because you mentioned slants versus stretch game, and you're really playing a dangerous game if you want to go that route. Because if you slant the right way, if you choose the right direction, chances are you're blowing up the play. Stretch right, you slant right, or to the offense's right, you are getting out ahead of the gaps. You probably have 3 guys in the backfield. But if you slant the opposite way, away from the stretch, that's when everyone's all discombobulated. Guys are 2-3 gaps over at that point, and that's when you get the freeways. So I'm very curious to see how they handle that, because as we saw last week, not everyone, it is a difficult task going up against this Bears running game right now. And I think that is ultimately what decides this game. The Packers stop it. I think they win. If they can't, I do not think that they come out victorious in this one.
I do want to shout out Evan Williams real quick, Packers safety. He's a monster defending the run. For a safety, he is so willing to be physical. I think that's going to really help against these Bears receivers and kind of lay a hit on them early in the game. Really, really set the tone early. I think Evan Williams is a great run defender. He's having a Pro Bowl caliber season. But I also think if the Bears are going to want to win this game, I think it's going to have to come with Caleb Williams as a passer over the middle of the field. I think there have been a lot of inefficiencies with the passing game towards the outside edges of the field due to drops, due to Caleb Williams' inaccuracies. But he's really started hammering on the middle of the field passes. I think he's looked great on those dig routes, on some of the over routes. He's working high lows really well. It just comes down to the receivers kind of being a little more fine-tuned with their route running. So I wonder if this is a game where you start to see a little bit more of the middle of the field targets. If you start to see a little bit more of some of those daggers, some of those middle of the field digs, some of those are going to start to have to hit for this Bears offense in this game.
I do think, though, that's the one area where I feel good about the Packers is their coverage over the middle of the football field. It's like as you get closer to the sidelines, that's where it gets more worrisome. And that's why, the Cowboys were the ones that really hammered them, because the Cowboys, Dak, like they can attack those edges of the football field with those receivers. So I do think that the Packers defense slows them down enough. And then on the flip side, I just don't see the Bears having what it takes to stop this Packers offense, especially given we probably get Jaden Reed back this week. We probably get Matthew Golden back this week. To see those guys to an offense that's already number one in terms of EPA per play in the NFL. Like this has been, Jordan Love has been cooking of late. Number one graded quarterback over the past 4 weeks, according to PFF. And they can't pressure opposing quarterbacks, the Bears. 29th in pressure rate. That's been the formula to stop the Packers offense. Well, there's two formulas. One is just like bait them into running all game long, which I think they've finally scrapped a little or enough in recent weeks. And the second is to get pressure on Jordan Love quickly with this offensive line that's been, just okay. It has not been great in terms of pass protection, and they've been banged up throughout the year. The Bears don't have the guys to do it. They just flat out don't have the guys that worry this Packers offensive line. So I think that's the matchup where I just don't see the Bears having answers. I think the Packers can have some answers in run defense against the Bears rushing offense. I don't think that the Bears have any answers for this Packers passing attack right now.
I'm curious how Dennis Allen calls this game, because now that you have Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, I know a lot of Jalen Johnson got most of the attention, but Kyler Gordon coming back in nickel, huge for this team. He can play outside. They played him outside against the Eagles with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the slot. They moved him to the slot. You're able to run a lot more stuff. You're able to run a lot more of your disguise coverages. There was one in the Eagles game where they motioned Dallas Goedert to the left, and then Kyler Gordon runs with him. But instead of it being man, they flip it into cover two. And I thought that was really cool. But like you said, the Bears are 29th in pressure rate. When you factor in blitzes, on all blitzes, the Bears are 31st in pressure rate. That's not great. Like, if you can't blitz and get home, but you also can't win with 4, there's really no way of beating this Packers team, because you can't blitz Jordan Love. He's been great against the blitz this season. And against the Lions, he was shredding man coverage. And I think the Bears pulled out a little bit more man coverage than I thought they would against the Eagles. But I feel like this game is going to have to come down to somebody on that Bears defensive line is going to have to make a play. Whether it be Montez Sweat, whether it be Austin Booker, you get if you can get Grady Jarrett going on the interior, somebody has got to make a play. Gervon Dexter Sr., somebody on the defensive line has to go make a play in this game.
I don't see it happening. I like the Packers. 6.5's a lot, though. I think it's going to end up around that area, so I wouldn't bet this, but I like the Packers to win.
I like the Packers. I also think that Micah Parsons against Theo Bennett or Ozzie Trapilo, like how does Ben Johnson scheme around that matchup? Because if Micah Parsons is getting pressure without Devontae Wyatt, I wonder who's going to be that next guy to step up. Of course, the Packers have very capable pass rushers, but it's not only getting pressure on Caleb Williams, you have to bring him to the ground. So I'm curious how they get pressure, but I'm going to go with the Packers in this one.
Both picking Packers.